Yo, what up YouTube? It's your boy Snoozy, and for this video we're going to be going over how to heal the 3 bosses in Mr. Tirna's Scythe. This is primarily a Disc Priest POV, but I will be going over a little bit of general tips for all the other healer classes as well. For the beginning of this boss fight, you're going to want to primarily focus on damaging Droman to try to push him as fast as you can, that 20% mark. That 20% mark is going to be the point at which the boss phases, and he's going to give you a damage ramp on Ingra. You also want to try to get him as low as possible because it's going to be the timer for Embrace Darkness. Embrace Darkness is about to hit, as you see on our timeline, and this is going to be a heavy AoE ticking damage that everyone is going to have to deal with. So you're going to want to make sure that you have healing available for this, whether you're popping Ancestral Guidance, whether you're popping Rapture, whether you're popping Mindbender. You want to make sure you have something so that you're getting through this as fast as possible. Ideally, you have enough DPS to get through it so that you can phase this boss as fast as possible and to get into the burn phase where the dot goes away and you can get your group healthy. Do not forget that after you phase, your group does take a little bit of extra ticking damage. So if someone is low, you're going to want to make sure that you're topping people up even after the phase, just in case you lose someone. You don't want to lose someone going into this lust phase. That damage is going to be very important. Now going into a repeat of the phases, some kind of general tips you kind of want to abide by is that you don't need to move super early for Tears of the Forest. So Tears of the Forest is coming up in 8 seconds here in this clip. And so what we're going to do is we're going to chill for a little bit and then we're going to move. What you want to do is you want to minimize the amount of movement you have to actually do. As you can see in this clip for me, I, playing Disc Priest, am dominate minding the Soul Cleaver from the previous pack into this boss fight. So we're adding a little bit of extra damage. You as a healer could look at possibly speccing a little bit more damage based when you go into Mist, taking maybe a damage trinket just to try to push this boss as fast as possible so that you can get through it in a very quickly and efficient way before Embrace Darkness kills your entire group. That is going to be the primary focus of this boss fight, making sure that you get kicks, making sure that Droman dies as fast as possible, and then trying to set yourself up to be prepared for the burn phases so that you get through them with effective timings. Ideally, the first burn phase, you get the boss below 40%, and then the second burn phase is where you kill it. That's enough of my talking. Enjoy the rest of the boss fight. For our next boss, we're going to be dealing with Mistcaller. This boss has a 3-phase fight where you're going to have breakpoints at 70%, 30%, and 10% for her guessing games. You're going to be dodging dodgeballs as well as the Vulpin. For this boss fight, the primary heal checks are going to be during guessing game, as well as keeping an eye on your tank, because this boss will randomly just start really doing a lot of damage to your tank, depending on what kind of tank you're running with. So you're going to want to pay attention to your tank. As you can see, I keep Power Word Shield up on my tank. Whatever you have as a hot or as a DR, you want to keep that rolling on your tank continuously throughout this boss fight. During the time the guessing game comes, you're going to want to be looking for the one that is different. So a lot of the times it's either usually one that is circled, or it is usually one leaf or one flower, or one filled in or one not filled in. And that is going to help speed up the way that you choose which one is the proper one. During this guessing game, that is going to be the primary damage that the group takes. So you're going to want to make sure that you're using healing cooldowns. You're going to make sure you're popping the right things just to get through it. And then from there, you can relax again and move on until the next check at 30%. Once you've gotten the first one down, it's going to now be a rinse and repeat as of the beginning of the fight. Make sure that you are staying efficient. Make sure you are staying calm and methodical about healing cooldown usage. You do not need to send any cooldowns during the boss fight unless it's during guessing game. So try to pull your stuff, try to pull your cooldowns together and have them set up for that one phase. And once it happens, you then pop everything and you go back to chilling and just trying to do damage and speeding up the boss fight. This is a very chill boss fight. There's no need to overthink it. It's very simplistic. Just try to be very smart and be very calm. That's enough of my talking. Enjoy the rest of the boss fight. Our last boss is going to be TWW. Now, TWW is a little bit of a beast of a boss to deal with because of the amount of movement you're going to have to worry about. First thing you're going to be looking at is these pools. You're going to want to move very, very slowly with these. As you saw, the group waited and waited until it set, and then we moved. The reason for that is this mechanic is going to guess where you go next. So if you're moving too soon, it's going to create this gigantic circle of swirly that you're gonna now have to try to dodge. It creates confusion, and it makes this boss fight 10 times harder now when you're dealing with way less space and you're trying to dodge at the same time. As you see here, we get it twice where we're waiting, and then we move. You see how it's very compressed. That is how you want it to be. For these incubates, what you're wanting to do is you're gonna want to be very careful with them when they're fixated on you. So pop a defensive when they're on you. They will do damage, especially as we roll into this consumption phase where the group is taking AoE damage as we fight to take down the gorging shield. So you're gonna want to pop a defensive and keep yourself up and be ready to then reposition to get out of these swirlies. So as you see here, one of our members moved too early, and it ended up creating a very rough transition on those pools. This boss fight is very simple if you keep those things in mind, where you're popping defensives for these incubates when they're fixated on you, and you're making sure you have some type of cooldown leading up for the consumption. This boss fight can become very chaotic if you start spreading pools everywhere and everyone is running all over the place, and you're losing people to range and you're losing people to deaths because they're not dodging. So I highly recommend prior to this boss fight that you talk to your group and tell them to keep a tight-knit distance between each other. As you can see here, we're all standing on top of each other. It makes it very easy to heal, makes it very simplistic to deal with, and everyone is moving the same direction every single time. As we dodge pools, we all move left or we all move right. We're all keeping in mind of the distance between each other so that this is a little bit easier to deal with. As you can see here, for me as a disc priest, there's a little bit level of added complexity because I am dominate minding the soul cleaver from the beginning. So there's going to be a little bit more damage that we're having to deal with. Now, as you see here on the second consumption phase, it's very easy once you start rolling cooldowns on top of each other. So I have my Mindbender going with a Enhanced Shaman's Ascendance Ancestral Guidance and a Aug Evoker helping out with Chrono Ward. So it's not too bad, but you will need to play as a group in this fight. This is not something that you can be a super healer. This is not something that you can just carry. You will need the group to help you. You will need the group to do their part so that this becomes a very easy boss fight. I know that is not what everyone likes to hear, that they have to depend on pugs or LFG to do things properly, because we know how that works. But this is one of those boss fights where they are going to need to pull their weight and they're going to have to do their job. That's all I got for you guys. Enjoy the rest of the boss fight. That's enough of my talking. Enjoy the rest of the boss fight.